my name is Kray, and in today's video I'm redesigning who might just be my favorite one of my OCs, my purple alien baby, Saturnalia. Saturnalia was originally designed with the Space OC Challenge, but since then her lore and design have changed and evolved quite a lot. And today they're going to change again, hopefully for the final time. So why don't we just get right into it? I started off the redesign process by getting some references from Pinterest, as well as various pictures of Leah I've drawn before. Leah is Saturnalia's nickname, by the way, and I will be referring to her mostly as Leah during the video. As you can see, my art style has changed a lot since I first created Leah, but the fundamentals of her design have always stayed the same. Also, I will give a shout out in my next video to the first person to guess correctly which of these pictures I've drawn most recently. Leave your guess down in the comments below. As you can see, I started by drawing Leah's current design in my style and messing around with her proportions a little bit. My big goals for this redesign was to make Leah look more alien and make her fit more with her surroundings. Right now she kind of just looks like a purple human being with elf ears. On the first point, I made the decision to remove her nose and ears, which I will do later, as well as modify her hands to only have 3 fingers. I also decided to make her body lankier and less curvy than my standard proportions. For those of you that don't know, an OC, or original character, is a character that you create, give a story, name, design, and just they're fun. I have a lot of OCs, and like I said in my last video, I want to redesign them all. And a lot of them do have some really deep lore, but Saturnalia probably has the deepest out of all of my writing OCs that I have. Anyway, though, the next thing I worked on was Saturnalia's face. I tried a very alien look with this first attempt, with huge irises that fill up the entire eye, droopy eyelashes that make no sense in real life, and super round eyebrows. One thing that does need to stay, though, is the diamond in the forehead. I'll explain that later. For a long time now, Leah's hair has been these kind of braids that wrap around her head, and I do still like that hairstyle, but wanted to try something a little different. My second idea had more normal-looking eyes and one pointy eyelash. I also used different eyebrows, but moved back over to the round ones later. I tried a style for the hair with these loops by where the ears would go. This is where I decided to get rid of them. Leah does live in Russia, so I wanted to add some of those elements to her design. I really liked this idea, so I tried drawing it in profile to make sure I could draw it in that view. Sometimes I really like something, but I cannot draw it in different views for the life of me. Thankfully, that wasn't a problem this time. I figured out the style in the back view as well, and tried drawing her antenna, which is prehensile like a monkey's tail, but making sure I can, figure it out when it's pointing toward the camera is kind of important. Then I copied over the head and traced the proportions from the attempt I did earlier with her old design. Don't blame me, you would have done the same. So I could try to design a new outfit for Leah. That's the thing about her design I wanted to change the most. Her outfit has always just been something I slapped on. This time I wanted to put more thought into it by including some inspiration from traditional Russian clothing. First, I tried this sweater and wrapped the sash in the same shade of orange as her markings around her waist, like some of my references. I put this star pattern on there as an accent, and just used some basic leggings and no shoes. I liked this, but I didn't love it, so I started again trying an oversized hoodie. Hey, future editing right here. Apparently I forgot to record for the second outfit design, so in the footage we just skipped straight to the third one, but you can see the second one in the corner of the footage, sorry. I kept the star pattern as an accent and tried including the orange on her shirt like last time. I also used shorts instead of pants, but I didn't like this enough either, so I tried one last time. This attempt, I tried combining the previous ideas. I kept the hoodie idea and used the poofed sleeves from the sweater, along with the sash and star pattern. I tried eliminating the orange from the clothing, and decided I liked the color palette better. This was definitely my favorite outfit. I was really vibing with it, so this is the one I went with. Also, do not ask me how that hood would actually go over her head. I have yet to figure that out. The next thing I wanted to look at was to explore the anatomy of Leah's hands more. So I sketched it out twice and figured out the symbols that would go on the front and back of both hands, as well as what they would actually look like since they only have 3 fingers. Then I sketched out the eye in a larger scale so I could get a feel for its rendering. It's pretty simple and standard to what I've been doing in my last videos, so yeah, not a whole lot to talk about, but I did not give her a pupil. It's something I have been messing around with her more recent designs, and it helps her feel more alien. But it does mean that the highlights kind of need to function as her pupils. I also drew another version of the eye that is what it would look like when it was glowing, as well as a glowing ring inspired by Saturn's rings, which totally wasn't part of her name inspiration. I will not be giving context yet because later in the video I'm going to info dump her lore onto you. But now her design is complete. I really like its new design. It's definitely my favorite of all the designs she's had in the past. And as you can see, there's been a lot of them. But next on my agenda was drawing a simple character sheet for Leah. I started off the character sheet by drawing a simple full-body pose to express Saturnalia's personality. It took me a while, but I eventually settled on a pose with one arm at Leah's side and the other gripping that arm. Leah is shy and awkward, but also really friendly and curious about the human world she missed out on for nearly a century. Dang, I am good at foreshadowing. She also loves to read. She reads a lot. She reads a lot of encyclopedias and historical books, but she also reads fantasy stories that she's found, which definitely does not help what she thinks the human race looks like. I didn't do line art for this piece or add all my fancy effects, but I did do simple shading with a purple multiply layer. Next, I wanted to try and play around with Saturnalia's emotions, so I drew what it would look like if Leah cried. Sorry, Leah. I love you, baby. I didn't feel like worrying about the eyes, so I drew her with them closed. Since Leah's antenna is prehensile, like I said earlier, prehensile means she can move it independently of the rest of her body, I imagine it's basically her third hand, especially since her hands wouldn't really be good for holding things easily since they only have 3 fingers. So I had the ball at the end by her cheek, catching a few of her tears. Then for the character sheet, I drew a sketch of Leah mesmerized by her powers. I drew this one in profile view for variety. Leah has the ability to make the orange parts on her body, like her eyes, the end of her antenna, and the various symbols on her body, glow like nightlights. She can also create glowing rings while like this. None of the scientists who run tests on her know why or how this can happen, but they suspect it is a common ability among the Neptune folk. Neptune is Leah's home planet, by the way. Haha, betcha thought it was Saturn, everybody. Leah is named Saturnalia because of her rings, and because she fell to Earth in a meteorite on December 17th, which is when the Roman festival by the same name began. That's not all of Leah's lore, though, not even half of it, so don't go anywhere. While I was talking, I finished the character sheet. I added some final touches and a little face of Leah giggling. And the last thing I drew for this video was a final illustration of Saturnalia. For this piece, I only recorded during the line art and the rendering process, since this video already has a lot of art. The picture is of Leah underneath a blanket using her glowing abilities to read a book past curfew. I imagine she does this a lot. And I thought for this portion of the video, I'd tell Saturnalia's story, so buckle up, it's a crazy one. Saturnalia fell to Earth on December 17th of 1952, and was found by a Russian scientist. In those days, the man knew that Leah would not be safe above ground among his people, so he raised her in an underground bunker that he'd built for his research. The man was like a father to Leah, and gave her things to help her learn more about the world she lived in now. But the man was old when he found her, and when Leah was around 35, he passed away, his adult son taking his father's place. The son was like a brother to Leah and raised her as well as his father did. But since not everything can last forever, the son too eventually passed away. And since he had no children, strange scientists that Leah did not recognize replaced him. So yeah, we already have a lot of trauma, and every good OC needs trauma, am I right? And we're not even to the crazy part yet. So anyway, Saturnalia's species has an aging rate of roughly 5 times that of a human being. It was my cop-out to make her really old without actually being really old. And she's 70 in the current age of her story, so around 14 in human years. Anyway, I finished the liner, and now we will be skipping to the rendering and finishing Saturnalia's Tale of Woe. The shading on this piece is fairly simple, and I tried to draw on the glowing parts first so I could build the shading around them, but that didn't really work, so I went in with my normal shading and decided to work on the glowy bits last. Not a whole lot to talk about, though. You've seen it before, so why don't we finish the story? Leah could tell almost immediately that these scientists were different from the old man and his son. They wore white coats, had strange equipment, and instead of treating her as a friend, they labeled Leah as Experiment 0001 and ran tests on her, poking Leah with tubes and needles and giving her only the basic necessities to live. It was very different from what Leah was used to, and she hated feeling alone. Leah found solace only in her books, the only thing she was allowed to keep. Then one day, she overheard a few of the scientists talking about a masculine specimen that had been found and was taken to a research facility in some place called America. A specimen that had some similarities to Leah herself. So in the dead of night, she escaped. Leah had never seen the surface before and was afraid of what the people might do to her. But surprisingly, the small village was welcoming to Leah. Just a bit confused at why Leah assumed they had magical powers and that strange creatures inhabited their world. And with that, Leah began preparation to find her way to America. And that's her whole story so far. I love Leah so much. She's one of my favorite OCs, and I'm just so happy with how she's grown as a character. I haven't designed the male Neptunian yet, though. That might be a future video. But right now, I'm adding in the glow to the picture. I started by putting a purple layer set to multiply over everything else to darken them and make it look like it was nighttime. Then I shaded the eyes, forehead diamond, and her antenna. I used add glow to make them bright and glowy, and erased the multiply layer around them to make the light seem even brighter. I also didn't add highlights to the eyes, unlike what I did in the design sheet, but I just liked that better without it. And we're done! Alright, so here's Leah's first design, and here's her new one. I am so happy with this new design, and I'm really proud of how Leah has grown as a character over time. The first design is neat and very unique, but it just felt like more of design over character rather than character over design. And I'm really happy that I was able to make this new one feel like it has more inspiration. But that's just about everything I wanted to say, so why don't we move on to the outro? Okay, so I actually have one last thing I want to show you guys. I wasn't originally going to show this piece. I didn't even record footage for it because I didn't really like how it turned out. I drew it with watercolor brush pens, a new medium I had never used before, and it didn't really work. So I was just going to pretend it didn't exist. But that would just make it seem like I'm always happy with everything I draw, which isn't true. So here's the failed Saturnalia artwork. The colors all started blending together for some reason, even after they were all dry, and it looked horrendous before I added the line art. Well, that's about it for today's video. Thanks so much to everyone for watching. I really do appreciate every person that takes time out of their day to watch an inexperienced teenager draw things on the internet. Remember to guess which picture I drew most recently from the references at the beginning for a shout out in my next video. Here they are again, just so they're fresh in your mind. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed, comment any suggestions that you have down below, and subscribe if you think I'm worth subscribing to. Have a really good day, everybody, and goodbye.